What's up, guys? Today we're going to be talking about Marvel Strike Force and how to not suck at it. We're going to be counting down my top 10 new player tips, so let's get into it. Alright, so today we're going to go over 10 tips for players who are new to Marvel Strike Force. To quickly introduce myself, my name is Khasino. I've been playing Marvel Strike Force and making content for this game for over 3 years now. I've been playing since soft launch, and I make tier lists, ability upgrade guides, blitz predictions, and all sorts of other resources for the game, which we'll touch on at the end of this video. I'm going to try to keep this brief, but there will be timestamps in the video description if you're looking to skip around. Alright, on to the tips. Starting us off with number 10, character positions actually matter. I wanted to start with this one because when I started, I had to have someone tell this to me. Placing a character in the middle as opposed to on an edge can actually make all the difference for the outcome of a match. As will be the case for a lot of these tips, I'm going to give you a super simplified version of the advice. A lot of these topics could easily be the basis for an entire video, but having said that, here's a very general guide for how to position your team. First things first, you typically want your taunting character, aka your tank, on an edge. The reason for this is that many abilities in the game do damage not only to the primary, but also adjacent targets. Most players call it splash damage. So since the splash damage attack will hit both the actual target and characters to the left and right of them, having your taunting character off to one side means the splash damage can only hit one other character, as there won't be anyone on the other side of the tank. If your tank was in the middle, it would hit 3 characters instead of just 2. Another general bit of placement advice is to put an off tank or a chain breaker next to your taunting tank. An off tank is a character with good health and armor who doesn't actually taunt. A chain breaker is either a character who can go into stealth or a character who frequently gets a counterattack buff. The reasoning behind this is that chain attacks work by hitting the primary and then continuing in a random direction, hitting adjacent characters. By having your tank on an edge, you're dictating where the chain starts and which direction it has to go. A good example for this is placing Captain America on an edge with Black Widow next to him. Black Widow spends a lot of her time in stealth. Thus, if someone starts a chain attack on Captain America, he'll do a good job of absorbing the damage, and then the attacker will look to target the unit next to Cap. If Widow is in stealth, the attacker won't see any adjacent target, and the chain attack ends right there. Super effective. I don't want to spend too much time on every point, so I'll give these last 2 pointers. First, you typically want your weakest or squishiest member on the opposite side from your tank. And second, there are definitely some exceptions to these rules. If you want to be extra safe, read all the character abilities carefully and look for the word adjacent. You can also join my Discord server where we have a bunch of infographics that show the optimal placement for various teams. Number 9, take advantage of free stuff. This one may sound like a no-brainer, but there's a bit more to it. Let me start by saying that time is the most valuable resource you can put into the game. Yes, you can buy characters and items, and yes, you can pay to score advantages, but trying to replace what you would normally get for free every day would be very costly. While it's tough to put an exact number on it, we estimate that on an average day, you get over $200 worth of gear, shards, and energy for free, every single day. There's a few things to be mindful of when taking full advantage of everything you get for free. First, login calendars. You get a ton of valuable resources just for logging in every day. However, they regularly put the most valuable items at the end of a calendar. This means if you skip a few days, you might not reach the end of the calendar before it's gone, and you could miss out on some highly valuable rewards. Second, free energy. 3 times a day you get free campaign energy. All you have to do is log in and hit claim. As you get farther into the game, they actually start including additional energy for other campaigns as well. For most players, this energy comes in at noon, 6 p.m., and 9 p.m., but it might vary based on your time zone. Just be sure to claim that free energy 3 times a day, as it'll help you progress much more quickly. And finally, shop refreshes. There are all different shops in the supplies tab, and they often have gear, shards, and other good stuff available for very reasonable rates. The shops refresh with all new items every 8 hours, so be sure to check in at least once every 8 hours. You'll often find an item you can buy for cheap that you would otherwise spend a lot of energy hunting down. Oh, and as a general rule, do not spend power cores on anything you see in the store. They tend to be a huge ripoff. Number 8, upgrade characters intelligently. There are a lot of different ways to power up your characters. You can increase their level, upgrade their gear tier, advance their star rank, upgrade their ability levels, and as you progress in the game, you'll even be able to upgrade a character's red stars and their ISO 8. We're just going to focus on levels, gear, stars, and ability upgrades for now and save red stars and ISO 8 for a future video. In short, if you're wondering which types of upgrades give you the most bang for your buck, this is a very rough overview. Both ability levels and gear tiers are reliant on a character's level. This means if you want to upgrade either of those things beyond a certain point, you'll have to raise the character's level anyway. There are a lot of factors, but keeping it simple, gold stars improve all of a character's stats by roughly 5 to 6%, except for the 7th gold star, which gives an almost 12% boost. Levels, on the other hand, basically boost each stat by the amount that the character had at level 1. Gear actually provides flat stats, which means they provide a bigger boost to weaker characters. The important thing to note is that nearly all improvements are interdependent. Levels provide bigger stat boosts to characters with more stars, ability upgrades are more valuable on characters with better stats, etc. Quick note, ability upgrades are very important. They often change the functionality of a character's abilities, often in major ways. For example, upgrading Vision's passive to level 4 changes it from providing defense up to the lowest health tech ally to instead providing defense up for 2 turns to all tech allies. That is a massive difference. So without getting too in depth, I mainly want to warn you not to overinvest. Many new players start powering up a handful of characters and then just continue upgrading those same characters long after they should have stopped, just because they were already strong. Not all characters are created equal. Some are a lot more powerful than others, and you don't want to end up having spent a ton of rare resources on a bunch of mediocre characters because you didn't want to start over with powering up newer ones. A good jumping off point is to make sure you're powering up worthwhile characters by referencing the solo character tier list I release each patch. This ranks the characters when used alongside random teammates. Many characters are much stronger when used alongside their intended team, however, which is why you also see all the +2s and +3s. You can find the solo character tier list graphic on my Discord server. Number 7, find the right alliance. Many of the best rewards in the game come from game modes that require an alliance to complete. Raids in particular give top tier rewards, but you'll also be relying on your alliance mates for alliance war, alliance events, and milestones, raid and war season rankings, and more. Having a solid crew makes a huge difference when it comes to progressing in Marvel Strike Force. Here are a few tips for finding the right alliance. Firstly, I recommend downloading Discord. It's a chat app used by many of the alliances in the game. It's especially common among the more active and more organized alliances. Secondly, I recommend looking for an alliance where you'll be among the weaker members. While your actual experience in raids and war may be a struggle, by jumping into a group where the average player is a good bit stronger than you, you'll be getting better rewards for completing tougher content as a group, which will help you power up much quicker. Thirdly, take a minute to think about what you're looking for in an alliance and what you plan to bring to the table. Do you want a nice casual alliance that doesn't give you a hard time if you miss a raid because of your niece's birthday? You want a super hardcore alliance where everyone coordinates activities over voice chat? Are you planning on being free to play? Make sure you don't join a group of spenders who end up having to boot you because you can't keep up. What time zone are you in, and what are your typical windows to play? Give these things some thought and try to join an alliance that's a good fit for you. For some players, their alliance becomes their second family, so be honest about what you'll contribute and try to find the best fit. And finally, don't just resort to the in-game global chat to find an alliance. I personally recommend a couple channels on our Discord server if you're shopping around for a good one. You can make a post in Looking for Alliance, where alliances that are recruiting can browse to get in contact with you. And you can also browse the Looking for Members channel, where alliances with spots needing to be filled will be posting what they're looking for and how they typically rank. Number 6, make use of advanced options. This one is pretty straightforward. There's actually a section with advanced options that many players don't know about. You can access it by going to the home screen and then clicking the settings cog in the top right. From there, you'll need to scroll down, and on the right side, you'll see a button that says Advanced. Many of the options located here are huge time savers, including things like open multiple orbs at once, which lets you open orbs 10 at a time, an item count in store, which displays how many of each item you have while you're browsing the shop. Side note, while you're in the options, I strongly recommend binding your account via Facebook. This will ensure you can always access your account even if something happens to your phone. If you don't have a Facebook, I'd make a throwaway just to protect your account. It's also a good idea to write down your PID somewhere. Number 5, focus on the right game modes. Since we've covered a bunch of longer topics already, I'll try to keep this one brief. Not all game modes are created equal. The game modes that provide the best rewards are definitely Arena and Raid. Arena awards you with power cores, which you can spend in a variety of ways to gain an extra advantage. The more power cores you bring in, the more extra stuff you can buy. Campaign energy refreshes, for example, cost 50 cores for the first 4 refreshes and are a terrific value. Raids provide large quantities of gear, character shards, and ability materials. While you will need to power up all sorts of characters for other game modes like challenges, blitz, flash events, etc., You definitely want to ensure that your strongest characters are the ones that will perform best in either arena or raid. Often you'll be able to invest in characters that perform really well in both. Important note, there's actually one more game mode that's super important if you're a new player: Blitz. What many players don't realize is that when you first start the game, you get placed in a beginner Blitz shard. Now this only lasts for 30 days, and then you're tossed into deep waters with the rest of the veterans. You can tell if you're still in the beginner shard because the top milestone will only require 350,000 points, whereas it's 750,000 points on the veteran shard. During this time, you can score a lot of character shards for really rare and valuable characters, and most of the other new players don't realize how important it is. So do as much Blitz as you can during your time in the beginner shard, and you can land yourself a major advantage by scoring a ton of character shards for really hard to obtain characters, simply by competing against players who don't realize what's at stake. Number 4, build up the right teams. One of the biggest questions I get asked by new players is, what's the best team for new players? Due to the nature of the game, that answer often changes as characters get made available in new ways and old teams get outclassed by newer ones, but what I can confidently tell you, at least as of this recording, is that there are a handful of solid team options for new players. First and foremost, the Wave 1 Avengers. It's no coincidence that the devs are making the most popular team in all of Marvel available to you pretty early on. While they definitely aren't the best team in the game, they actually remain a well above average team, even in the late game, so you're fine to invest a good amount into them. I also definitely want to recommend the Brotherhood. Many members of the Brotherhood are easy to farm as a new player, and when you get enough of them to 5-star, you can use them, as well as Wolverine, to unlock their legendary character Magneto, and start dominating an arena really early on. Those are the big two, but there are a few other teams to consider building up as a new player. Both the Defenders and the Guardians of the Galaxy are very easy to farm early on in the game. Neither team is particularly good, and you definitely don't want to overinvest in them. But they're easy to quickly assemble for game modes that require multiple full teams, like Alliance War. The Guardians of the Galaxy can also help you early on in the Cosmic campaign. And the last new player team worth mentioning is the Sinister Six. Now, without their legendary member Doc Ock, they aren't particularly good. However, having a good amount of stars on the other Sinister Six members actually prepares you to unlock not one, but 2 legendary characters down the road: Shuri and Invisible Woman. The value you get for investing in them is good, and when you eventually get Dr. Octopus, you'll make better use of them anyway. Number 3, learn the status effects. Before we even get into this one, let me say that this one definitely deserves a video of its own. I do have plans to make a video about the status effects, along with other combat mechanics like barrier, energy generation, piercing damage, and a whole slew of other combat-related advice. Let's keep this simple. Pay attention to status effects. Most players don't realize you can actually click and hold the symbols that appear over a character's head to display a readout of what the various status effects actually do. And I promise, in this instance, knowledge is power. The status effects in this game influence battles in major ways. For example, if one of your characters has offense down, this means they deal half as much damage as they normally would. It also means they have 50% less focus, which means they're a lot less likely to land their own debuffs on enemies. Conversely, defense up reduces incoming damage by 50%, and it raises a character's resistance by 50%, which allows them to resist incoming debuffs. Thus, if one of your characters has offense down and you're about to attack an enemy that has defense up, you might want to hold off on using a powerful ability, as you're only going to deal about a quarter of the damage that you normally would. The better you learn to play around the status effects, the more battles you'll win. Number 2, spend resources efficiently. This is another topic that could easily be its own video, but I'll try to keep it brief. There are a ton of different supply shops in the game where you can spend various currencies like raid credits, arena credits, blitz credits, etc., and many of these shops contain a variety of items you can buy. For example, you can spend raid credits on gear pieces, character shards, or different orbs. One common trap that new players fall into is buying the 5 character shards available for 1400 raid credits. For that, you're paying 280 raid credits per shard. However, if you look at the raid orbs, you get a random assortment of 9 character shards for only 900 raid credits, which is a much better value at only 100 raid credits per shard. While it will take you a bit longer when buying the orbs to build up a specific character that you might be after, you'll be amassing shards for all the characters in that orb at a much faster rate. You may not want that cream minion today, This game has all sorts of trait-restricted content, and I promise you, a day will come where you're glad that you already have a good amount of shards for your cream minions without having to divert your attention to farming them at a later date. Blitz orbs are also a great value that many players, even veteran players, often overlook. If you're ever unsure what to buy, look for what provides the best value over time. And finally, number 1, join the Khasino Discord server. So this might sound like a shameless plug, but hear me out. I get asked all the time, if you could give one piece of advice to a new player, what would it be? And I am being 100% sincere when I say I truly believe the single best piece of advice is to join the Khasino Discord server. My reasoning is as follows. It's a single step you can take that gives you immediate access to a huge library of resources, as well as the ability to always chat with more experienced players in real time. It's no coincidence we have over 30,000 members. As soon as you join, you get instant access to Blitz score predictions, hundreds of infographics, other content creator videos, data mines of upcoming events, but most importantly, the ability to chat with a bunch of other Marvel Strike Force players, including myself. And it's all completely free, and we're updating our resources constantly. You can join right now by going to discord.gg/Khasino. I also want to give a special shout out to the Discord bots we have on the server. In particular, the Ultron bot and the MSF.gg bot. Those bots allow you to summon all sorts of information by typing out a simple command. You can do things like immediately compare character speeds, look up which teams counter others in Alliance War, locate where specific character shards or items are available, and a whole lot more. I also want to give a special shout out to the companion sites for Marvel Strike Force, in particular, MSF.gg. MSF.gg has a ton of info we reference for a large number of our own resources, and you can look up all kinds of things on their site. I definitely suggest checking it out. I'll drop a link to their site in the video description below. But alright, I've blathered on long enough. Thank you guys very much for checking out this video. I hope you found it helpful. Last thing I want to put out there, please let me know in the comments if you're a new player and there's a particular topic you'd like me to make a video about. I'm trying to focus on making more resources for newer players, and it would help me to know what types of things you guys are looking to better understand. So again, please let me know in the comments below. Lastly, please be sure to like, subscribe, and squeeze a watermelon, and I will see you guys real soon. Until next time. Hey!